phenomenon of recorded music is so ubiquitous these days, it's hard to realize how amazing the technology innovation really is. Once upon a time, you could not hear music without actually going to see it live, or making the music yourself. The phonograph started the industry of recorded music in 1877. For the first time, people could listen to music from the comfort of their own homes, and music itself could be physically shared and sold through physicals. Over the next 5 decades, the phonograph took many different forms, from a cylinder shape to a flat disc, until finally being replaced by the vinyl, when it first came out in 1948. But by the late 1950s, the RCA magnetic tape, aka cassettes, was introduced to the public. The industry was able to record music on a small device for greater portability. This new technology secured its popularity as car makers adopted this new technology for car models, and making it possible to drive down the highway and listen to your favorite album. By the late 1960s, most cars featured 8-track cassette players. Then the digital era gave way to CDs. With the popularity of CDs, recorded sales boomed to an all-time high. But the internet paved the way for a new era of piracy and being able to illegally download music from online. And with this, CD sales plummeted. And now, streaming has taken over the music industry. With the world's music at the tap of a finger, streaming is simple to use and cheap for the consumer. The convenience of streaming and the portability of smartphones allows people across the globe to stream music at all times. The average consumer spends nearly 18 hours listening to music each week, or 2.5 hours a day. 75% of all consumers listen to music through smartphones.
Well, now, I haven't really been out there playing a lot. So from the time up until the time I was in my mid to late 50s, I was teaching and performing, and that's really changed more towards teaching, much less performing. And now I'm working on a project called Gotham Music, and a big part of what I want to do is have online a teaching platform.
The most popular streaming service is YouTube, for a lot of reasons. It is free to use and is arguably the most convenient of all streaming sites.
Today, let's add some harmonic richness to a C blues scale using parallel voicings.
It also has the lowest payout rate out of all the streaming services. For every $20 that Spotify might generate for an artist, YouTube will only generate less than $1.
I see a lot of young musicians today really doing so many things. And it's amazing because when I was younger, and a lot of my peers in that group, we just thought about playing music. And if you were on tour, somebody was booking the tour, somebody was, booking the flights, the hotels. Everything was taken care of. The advertising or whatever it was that you were doing, you just had to play. For a lot of people, it was like that, unless you were developing a really good solo career as an artist, then maybe you'd be more involved in that. But today, it seems like almost everyone's involved in that with social platform.
There are around 1 billion people listening to music on YouTube. The site generates revenue through advertisements. Since Lady Gaga's Bad Romance music video was uploaded in 2009, all of the most viewed videos on YouTube have been music videos.
Today, artists can actually do something. We're fighting with the same weapons as the big labels, as the big companies. So if you think back in the days, let's think back 15 years. They had the connections with the radio stations, they had the connections with the music shops. But today, what are their connections? What tools are they using to promote their artists? The same tools that I'm using, the same tools that you are using. So what's really going to make the difference is the quality of the content that the artist is offering and the effectiveness of their marketing strategy. So on one side, we have the streaming services. It's two separate things. On one side, you have the streaming services. And these streaming services have their own business model. But we're not part of this business model. We have to use the tools that they are offering us to create our own business model around that.
People may argue that the advent of the internet allowed for more democratic access to music, or for the devaluing of music. More people listened to music more often than ever before, and got used to paying nothing for the recordings. There are a lot of streaming services out there today: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon, and more. There are two types of options: free and premium. The free option allows you to listen to songs, but because it's free, it comes with limitations. Usually those limitations come in the form of advertisements, or not being allowed to interact or choose what you want to listen to. On the other hand, there's the premium option. There are different rates: normal, student discount, family discount. They all involve paying a monthly fee in exchange for more perks, usually no advertisements, full interaction, and free digital downloads. Starting with the streaming companies themselves, they take the total amount of revenue across all the artists on their service and keep 30% of the money. Performing rights organizations, or PROs, such as ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, collect and distribute performance royalties and licenses, and the Harry Fox Agency collects and distributes mechanical royalties and licenses. There are other people that may get paid as well, including producers, engineers, managers, and co-songwriters. So where does the money go? From when you hit play to when the artist gets their paycheck. In the end, what does the artist get? Well, very, very little. At the end of each day, each artist gets a fraction of a cent per play. Steve Mazur: there may not even be any money for the artist to get paid from, but no one can ever really tell you that. Like, they can't really tell you how much money your song generated in the streaming service. It's too complicated. It's too opaque and too complicated.
People are trying to understand how to find a way to make this streaming, this new way of music consumption work. At first, I know it was a certain way. Now it got different, and I think they're gonna evolve to a point where it's gonna be more fair. Because if the music is played or used by someone, that person should pay for it.
Streaming will most certainly evolve as time goes on. The Music Modernization Act, which was recently passed into law in August of this year, establishes the Mechanical Licensing Collective, which will create a database to house songwriters and publishing credits and make it easier to track down the right person to pay. The Music Modernization Act also makes it easier for ASCAP and BMI to consider the fair market value based on statistics when arguing for high-performance royalty rates. We are all waiting for the law, and with the online infrastructure to catch up with the new technology. In the meantime, artists need to make sure that their songs are registered with the US Copyright Office and with all of the appropriate revenue-collecting agencies. And consumers need to realize that if they really care about their artists, then they need to really support those artists the best way they can. Whether that means purchasing their merchandise, going to their concerts, buying their vinyl, or streaming their songs.